All right, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be. Today I'd like to speak about uh, the Epic of Gilgamesh. So, this is considered the oldest story in human history. And so, if you read any of the work from Gary Wayne, the author, Canadian author, he claims that Gilgamesh is seventh generation after the flood. So, um, Nimrod would be third generation, so Noah's great grandson. So now this story, very interesting. In this Epic of Gilgamesh, there's quite a bit. It's a story about a king of Uruk, um, which is in Iraq today. Who this king is described as a demigod. Some people claim he was a giant. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But what I found really interesting in this is in the first few sentences, what you see is Gilgamesh trying to contact his gods for knowledge about before the flood. And I think what's really interesting about that is no flood that I'm aware of in history has wiped out all information or all knowledge. So what's really strange to me is why is a king trying to contact spiritual beings to acquire information? And I think this is Noah's flood. Now that's a theory. I can't prove that. But I believe what happened was all the information was wiped out in the flood, all the technology, all the knowledge, and it was basically a restart of the world, right? So what you'll find really interesting, again, if you really dig into this, you'll find quite a few different things. Um, like for example, some of the pictures of Gilgamesh, you'll see him over here on the right, like a giant holding a lion, right? Like he's towering over a lion. You'll also find in the story he fights giants or ogres, depending on the translation and whatnot. But I think what's absolutely fascinating to me is you know in biblical times throughout the Bible, there's been giants, right? I mean, David cut the head off Goliath, and the reason that they did that is it was basically like a symbol of victory, right? And you see that practice performed all across the world throughout human history, that the ultimate defeat of a king or general or ruler would be to cut their head off. So I think what's really fascinating here again is in the Epic of Gilgamesh, what exactly is the flood? Is that the Noah's flood or is that something else? So it's very interesting. Um, the last thing I'll say too is there's a reference to Ayana or Ishtar, which is the Babylonian spirit. It's like think of it as the perfectly corrupted woman. So Ishtar worship involved transgenderism, um, mutilation of children, emasculating men, sleeping with anyone at any time, or in the Bible, you'd see the woman riding the or the beast, who drinks the blood of the saints and the filthiness of the fornications. So it's kind of like anything and everything, most debaucherous, disgusting things ever, pretty much. Um, and Ishtar is associated with the beast. So she paves the way for the Antichrist spirit, the spirit of Nimrod. Very important. And that's what's happening in our society right now. We have so much chaos, so much disorder, that what'll happen is an overcorrection will occur, and that'll be the beast system, right? It's actually very similar on a smaller scale what happened to Germany in the 1920s, where immorality was absolutely everywhere. And when Adolf came in, tyranny took over. So it's kind of similar to that, if you think of it in that paradigm, right? And so why this is important is I believe that we're very close to the end, and I believe that this spirit is what's pushing our society closer to, well, maximize chaos to overcorrect into a beast system. And so it's very interesting. These things, these patterns, which is what reality is, cycles, if you will. I mean, these things just happen over and again, over and over again. And the good news is Jesus is coming back, and all of this is going to be, the world as we know it's going to be completely different. And I'm looking forward to that very much. So, thank you for joining me today, and I hope you have a great day.